Hello, welcome to the morning of Tuesday, 11th July 2023. Good morning, my name is Noble Crosby-Annan and this is the news on New Day. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We're live too on DSTV channel 279. Let's take a look at the headlines of the stories this morning. It is usually said that the dead makes way for the living, but in the Ashanti region, some residents in one community would have none of that. Also this morning, MPP flag-bearer aspirant wait with bated breath outcome of vetting, but Majority Leader in Parliament, Osei Mensah Bonsu, in an exclusive interview says the flag-bearer race should not even be a contest. Also this morning, Chinese national Aisha Wan opens defense in trial over Galamsey offences. Plus some international news this morning as Tunisian authorities suspend salary payments of 17,000 teachers and sack 350 school principals. We'll tell you why. Welcome to the program. Let's start this morning with this. The coalition of individual bondholders groups suspended their planned picket at the Finance Ministry, says the convener Franklin Cudjoe. Now, this follows a press statement from the Finance Ministry reassuring bondholders that it will meet all its obligations as stipulated in the Memorandum of Understanding signed on May 16 between government and the coalition. The coalition had announced their decision to picket this morning in demand for the payment of their coupons following their disaffection with government's lack of action concerning the payment of their coupons and principals. According to the convener, Senior Hosi, the hitherto planned protest would have been massive if the government had failed to respond to their demands. He accused government of being insensitive to their plights.
What is most irrational is for you to take a poor man's money and sit on it and still be driving your V8, flying in business class, keeping a large government. That is what is irrational. That is what is unjust. That is not what's responsible. When the person trusted you with his mandate for you to improve his life, you don't, first of all, make life unbearable for him and go ahead and steal his savings. That is what is most irrational.
What do you hope to achieve with this picketing in the first place? A lot of people have picketed and you had no results. What makes you think this will work?
Brother, I think you haven't seen anything yet. The real action is coming. We are not coming 20 people. We are occupying the Finance Ministry. Every inch of space, we are occupying it. We are 300,000 members. We are occupying the space. So you must come and fight for yourself, and not just for yourself, for your kith and kin. But for me, what's more important is really the example we set as Ghanaians for the future of governance.
Well, the news this morning is that the convener of the Coalition of Individual Bondholders, Franklin Cudjoe, has urged all members to stand down. He has announced a media briefing later in the day. Meanwhile, economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Patrick Osumin, says investor confidence in the country will worsen if government continues to fail to honor claims of bondholders.
You know, the government is really destroying a lot of the social capital and social trust. That is absolutely important for it to even implement the IMF program that it has finally signed on to. Because, you know, there will be many times that the government need to have discussions with Ghanaians and make commitments. And, you know, people will expect that, oh, okay, maybe for a short term you're going to endure this, expecting that at some point some relief will come. If we start on this note, where, you know, government is not meeting its commitments, then every time people are going to have any discussions with government, they will always be looking on their shoulders. So I don't think this is not helpful. I don't anticipate that there will be immediate social unrest or upheaval like that, but I think the government really needs to have a long think about, its strategy.
To some other stories this morning, and the die is cast, the heat is on. The process of electing a flag bearer for the New Patriotic Party is taking shape. After receiving the vetting committee's report, the party is expected to publish the results in a crucial decider that has left much anticipation and interest on the political front. Christian Yali has more here.
The vetting, which is a critical part of the processes leading to the selection of a flag bearer for the party ahead of the 2024 elections, started from July 3 and ended on July 6. The vetting committee has submitted its report to the National Council, and it is expected that on Tuesday, the vetting report would be published.
We submitted our report, that's all. That's the work we were asked to do. And we're given a deadline, and we've met the deadline. The General Secretary will take the report through steering committee up to National Council, and the process goes on. On the face of it, the party is very satisfied.
It is expected that on July 24, a balloting exercise will be held. The NPP has set August 26 to hold a special delegate conference with some 900 delegates to trim down the number of aspirants to 5. That is if the vetting committee approves more than 5 out of the 10 aspirants to contest for the position. Christian Yale, TV3 News, NPP Headquarters, Accra.
Well, still in the political arena, the majority leader in Parliament, Osei Mensah Bonsu, says it is Dr. Bawumia's time to lead the New Patriotic Party in the 2024 elections. He says there are times and seasons for politicians, adding Dr. Bawumia is competent and loyal and is the right person to lead the party. In an interview with Evelyn Tingma, the majority leader says 122 MPs currently support the vice president's candidacy.
The NPP presidential race is heating up as aspirants continue to crisscross the country to canvass for votes. But two candidates, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and Alan Kyerematen, seems to be garnering more support, particularly from Parliament. While some say it is Alan's time, the majority leader in Parliament, Osei Mensah Bonsu, thinks otherwise.
In a field of competent people, you still have one person emerge as this one is super competent. I'm looking at the experience of Dr. Bawumia. I'm looking at his loyalty to the party. I'm looking at his focus. I'm looking at his vision. I'm looking at his temperament. I'm looking at his humility. Amongst the group, he stands out. Not just tall, but very, very tall. And that's why I've tied my cloth to his and ably supporting him.
He believes there are times and seasons and people ought to make good use of their time.
In 2008, when President Kufuor was exiting, a lot of stories like now being bandied about that, oh, the system was supporting Alan Kyerematen. Right? Did it go well for him? It didn't. Because it was a Kufuor season. There's a season for any politician. And you seize it. That's what it is. If you ask me, I think the tide has swung hugely in favor of Dr. Bawumia. It is not in any way to derogate from the effort of Alan. No. And that is why, at the very outset, I was proposing that we put the two together.
The majority leader insists 122 MPs from his side in Parliament support Dr. Bawumia and charged persons who speak for other candidates to be decorous with their comments.
I'm a leader in Parliament. 122 members of Parliament have indicated to me that they are supporting this person. In my constituency, I'm the leader there. The last time I went round, I asked them, who are you people rooting for? They'll tell you plainly. I said, okay, I'm the leader. If I should lead you, and you are telling me that you belong here, then I should lead you to Canaan. So I belong to where the overwhelming majority of my people are saying they belong to. I still think that it's still possible, even though it's getting too late, to still have some dialogue in respect of the two, even though that may create some problems. If one of them should say that, oh, okay, I've gone to test the waters, I've seen that this brother of mine is much ahead of me. I'm pulling out, I'm asking my supporters to support him. That would be a profound statement by that person.
The NPP will go to the polls on November 4 to elect a flag bearer for the 2024 general elections. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Accra.
Now to the courts, as Chinese nationals standing trial over mining-related offences. Aisha Wan has denied participating in illegal mining or engaging foreign nationals for such activities. Aisha Wan mounted the witness box for the first time to open her defence in court after prosecution established enough grounds for her to be prosecuted. Lord Edwasari sat through proceedings and reports.
Known as Aisha is facing 3 counts of undertaking a mining operation without a license, facilitating the participation of persons engaged in a mining operation, and illegal employment of foreigners. Although she has denied her role in these charges, the Chinese national has pleaded guilty to entering Ghana while prohibited from re-entry. Speaking in court for the first time with the assistance of an interpreter, as she tendered in her witness statement, Aisha noted that her prominence among the indigents at Ahojo in Kumasi and by extension Ashanti region was born from her ability to grasp elementary English to maneuver her daily routines. Aisha Huang told the court she became the go-to person and point of reference for both Ghanaians and other Chinese nationals because she operated a supermarket in her vicinity during her stay in the country between 2013 and 2018 before she got deported. She, however, denied ownership or operation of a mining site in the Amansie Central District of the Ashanti region, as well as employing foreign nationals illegally. According to her, she came into contact with the 4 other Chinese nationals charged with Galamsey-related offences after the Ghana Immigration Service reached out to her about their arrest following the expiration of their passports. Presiding Judge Lydia Osei-Marfo adjourned for the trial to continue on July 17. Lord Edwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, lawyers for the Asen North Member of Parliament, James Gyakye Quayson, have sued the Trade Minister, Katie Hammond, for contempt of court. In the writ filed on Monday, July 10, lawyer Terry Wada described comments made by the Trade Minister in an interview on Oyepart TV on Tuesday, July 4, as irresponsible, prejudicial, and those comments were made concerning the criminal case against the Asen North MP. According to Quayson's lawyers, the respondent categorically pronounced the accused person guilty of the charges for which he is standing trial in this court, and went further to state that the accused or applicant will go to prison. It claimed that the said words by the respondent are also in contempt of this court, as they are extremely prejudicial to the lawful process of the court. James Gyakye Quayson is being tried for forgery and perjury over his participation in the 2020 general elections. Now to some other stories, and the United Nations Resident Coordinator in Ghana, His Excellency Charles Bani, wants Ghana to find ways to ensure that the Ghana and Africa do not remain a dumping site for the rest of the world, he said in an interview with Johnny Hughes.
For instance, that part of the flooding and all the issues of pollution that we see on the continent right now stem from significant challenges that arise from single-use plastic. Plastic bottles clog the gutters clog, and when the rains fall, floods happen. We have the importation of second-hand clothing. We already know from the research that by the time it even arrives, 50 to 60% of it is just rubbish already. So if we're going to achieve the cleanest city, how do we make a commitment on plastic? How do we make a commitment on ensuring that Ghana, other African countries, are not the dumping ground for used products in other cities that make those cities look great.
You can also tune in to Sunrise 92.7 on 3FM for details of that interview with Johnny Hughes. To some other stories this morning, and the producer for the BBC documentary, Kwakye Afenyooma, gave further details about what motivated the undercover investigation on him.
Here, with reports that thousands have been trafficked as slave laborers. An American charity is spending big money to tackle the problem. But I have heard stories from the league that rescue missions don't always unfold as in the charity's slick adverts, and that the charity is causing ordinary children to be taken away and innocent families to be prosecuted.
Families have told us that their children have been taken as victims of trafficking.
Africa Eye had been tipped off. IGM's slick public messaging didn't always reflect how they work in Ghana.
I've met with their families. What they need is to be with their families and not taken away and kept at places that we don't know.
To investigate, Africa Eye went undercover inside one of the world's leading anti-slavery organizations and bring you the story of what happens when good intentions go wrong.
Well, those were excerpts of a BBC Africa investigation that uncovered how a US-based anti-human trafficking organization, International Justice Mission, may be falsely separating children from their families as part of their operations. In a documentary entitled The Night They Came for Our Children, BBC uncovered two classical instances where the multi-million-dollar charity instigated anti-trafficking operation with the help of Ghana Police Service and Social Protection Services Department. Stay tuned with all the Media General networks for some excerpts, also the details of that documentary that will be aired later. But in the meantime, the producer of the documentary, Kwakye Afenyooma, gave further details about what motivated the undercover investigations.
About a little over a year ago, sources close to the operations of IGM in Ghana hinted us about what they considered to be worrying actions on behalf of the US-based charity. And that's when we began our investigations. I, for example, visited communities where families said they had been separated from their children, and also recounted a certain Rambo style in terms of the IGM Dawn operations. We also spoke to persons who are familiar with the operations and activities of IGM. And in public interest, we decided to proceed to initiate the undercover investigation, which led our undercover operative to work within the IGM setup office in Accra for a reasonable amount of time, which allowed us to gather additional evidence to corroborate the evidence we had gathered on the field, as well as the documentation we had come in contact with.
To some other stories, and tension is mounting at Temena in the Oforiko municipality following the clearing of the community's cemetery and subsequent exhuming of bodies by a private developer. The private developer claims he has secured a court order to construct a road through the cemetery to a house, but the youth in the area say they will not allow that to happen. Ibrahim Abubakar has more here.
Residents woke up to a shock of their lives when they saw a grader destroying portion of the community's cemetery. The cleared portion was to lead to the house of a private developer who claims the cemetery is sitting on a road. Angry with the development, the youth in the area attacked the workers in an attempt to prevent them from further destruction of the graveyard.
We are all doing this for the betterment of Emina, so we need development.
When she was building, she used a different route to transport the building materials. Why is she now trying to destroy our cemetery to create a road to her house? We won't agree. The affected portion of the cemetery is where the royals have been buried. We can't allow this to go on because we may suffer spiritually.
The cleared portion is posing health risk to us. The entire area is smelling and has affected the patronage of our cooked food.
Assembly member for the area, Kenneth Owusu-Bediako, insists the land is a cemetery per the layout of the area.
The drawings, the layout and everything is there, and it shows clearly that that place is cemetery land, and the perpetrators are very much aware of that. The youth of the community, I know it isn't a nice scene for you to see your forefathers, your uncles, parents being exposed in the open air. It isn't a sight to behold, but they should all calm down. Once the security agencies have taken up the matter, I am sure calm will be restored and then Emina will come back to life.
Abraham Entry is the municipal chief executive for Forikrom.
The police have invited the parties. You see, in terms of land ownership and who owns what land, that is purely the preserve of the traditional rulers and the courts to determine. But we are more particular with the security implications. I got the team of professionals, including environmental health people, disease control people. We have been there to look at the situation. And the recommendation from all these professionals is to the effect that the open graves there poses some serious threat to human life. Well, we have asked the Ebusuapenyi and the traditional people to quickly liaise with Menchia and make sure they do the necessary traditional obligations, i.e. pouring of libation and other things, to pave way for us to also go and cover the graves and do our fumigation and other things.
The two persons the private developer saw their services to clear the cemetery have handed themselves over to the police for their own safety after some of the youth attacked them.
In some international news this morning, Tunisian authorities have suspended the salary payments of 17,000 teachers and sacked 350 school principals. The move affects nearly a third of the country's primary school teachers and follows widespread recent protests by education staff across the country. These protests have included refusing to hand in the school grades of pupils. The Tunisian government has insisted their country's dire economic problems mean that the teachers' pay demands are unaffordable. Tunisia is facing high inflation, rising employment, and severe shortages of some staple foods. Well, there's always more news on our website, 3news.com, if you log on for more. My name is Noble Crosby, and it's a full house this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
It's always a full house.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Not bad at all.
Nice, nice.
Has your week started on a good note?
Yes, it did. It started on a good note yesterday. Roland fulfilled his promise yesterday. Cookie, good morning to you again.
But I told you he would fulfill his promise.
Yeah, he did.
I told you.
Yes, but good morning especially to you, Cookie.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. We're here.
Good morning one more